us all together. Lord, we gather in your name as children of a sovereign God. Forever we proclaim, to God be all glory.
Well, good morning. How you doing? It is Saturday, November the 8th, 2025. Welcome to episode 497 of The Thinking Theologian as we continue our journey through the scriptures. So today we read John chapter 11 and 12. The title of today is Always an On-Time God. The focal scripture is in John 11, chapter 11, verse 6. And this is what it says. Is when he heard that he was sick, he stayed 2 more days in the place where he was. So being on time is a big deal for me. In my personal life and my professional life, both in my personal life and my professional life. A few years back, I was having a very difficult time being on time for my job because of some severe health problems I was facing. It was becoming very problematic because the mornings were just really, really difficult for me for numerous reasons. My health was declining in a very serious way, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. And where I am now, thankfully, is way better than I was then for a couple of reasons. But physically is just one of the biggest transformation turnarounds I could have. And that's all, but that also resulted in numerous surgeries and different things to find out what was going on with me, what was happening. I think I've had 4 or 5, since my diagnosis, things have been happening. But anyway, I say all that, it was difficult. It was rough. And it was rough in a way that it's really hard to put in words. That the only person that really understood, that saw it, was my wife. She's the one that really saw how much I was suffering every day physically. Now these health problems were causing me much anguish and a considerable amount of pain in my everyday life. It was so bad that one specialist asked me how I was able to function on a day-to-day basis. I remember I went and he just looked at me and said, he said, I don't understand how you're able to get up and do what you're doing every day with what I'm seeing and what's going on with you. And they were just really in shock that I was able to get up and go to work, function, do things, and be able to have what he said, it seemed like a normal day-to-day life. And so on one end, that made me feel good, but on the other end, it's bad when a specialist looks at you and says, dude, how are you doing what you're doing? And so, and to make matters worse with how I was feeling physically, I had a supervisor that didn't value the entire person. So I couldn't trust them to explain my health issues because they would have used it as ammunition against me. That's the type of person this person was, is that if they would have known and saw a weakness in a certain area, they would have tried to use it to their advantage, either verbally with other people to try to win favor with them or to demean me, or they would try to use it against me to kind of get their way of what was going on. Because this person was just that type of leader. And so I had the physical side of what I was dealing with. And then I had the job side of it that made it even worse. And so there were numerous times I would come in late to work and other things like that. But instead of caring about me as a person, instead of asking like a legitimate question, hey, like what's going on? Like you're coming up late every day, what's happening and what's going on? It was always anger and just venom and just a nasty tone in everything they did. And so I just decided not to ever tell this person. Now there was someone else I worked with that I told. They knew exactly what was going on to a point. No one really knew all the details, but I told one person what was happening and what was going on. And there is a purpose behind all this, I promise. And the crazy part of that story is me being late almost every day caused me more anxiety than my actual physical symptoms. And that's the part I'm getting at. Being late was actually harder on me than the physical things because it was causing me so much anxiety and stress because time is a big issue with me, time and time management and how things are done. It really is a huge stressor in my life when things aren't done like that. And I know I get made fun of sometimes for it, people who know me the best, but it really is an issue I have. So being on time mattered much more than I can ever put into words. It was actually, it bothered me more than my physical condition. My physical condition was actually pretty serious. So in today's reading, though, we catch up with Jesus when he is going to see about his friend Lazarus. And so this is where the time part comes in. When he hears the news that his friend is sick, he doesn't speed up. He actually delays his leaving by 2 entire days. And so this is an unusual response from someone who can heal from a distance. Jesus could have stopped and said, I'm going to heal him right now, but he didn't. However, Jesus had a bigger plan than just healing his sickness. And so he delayed on purpose so Lazarus would die. And so think about that for a minute. His delay led to his death, and that was part of the plan. And so he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. And so that's where we really have got to understand that how God works and what he does isn't how we operate and how we go about doing day-to-day life. So now, even if he seemed late to everyone else, he was perfectly on time. His time management was perfect because he knew exactly what he was going to do and what he was trying to accomplish. And so what we need to learn from the story is that the Lord is never late. Even though he allowed Lazarus to die, he had a bigger purpose in store for him and those who were with him. What was that purpose? To demonstrate that he was more powerful than death. He wanted everyone to be aware that no problem was too big for him. He demonstrated that his timeline is better than our timeline, even when it doesn't make sense in the moment. So let's make this practical for your current situation. What are you going through right now that you need an answer to in your life? If that answer hasn't happened yet, it is easy to get frustrated with God and accuse him of being late or not showing up when you need him to in your life. You may go, well, God, you don't care about me because you're not showing up. Whatever XYZ answer you may want to give here. However, just like in Lazarus' situation, he might be delaying on purpose. And so we have got to understand that God doesn't make mistakes, especially in his timing. This delay is not to punish you or hurt you, but it is to show up. On his timeline. His purposes are greater. His timetable is perfect. Trust the process. Trust the one who raises people from the dead. So he is an on-time God and will show up right when he has planned. And so again, I'm not sure what you're going through personally right now, or what is going on in your life, but always know he's on time. Even when it seems like around you, things may be falling apart, or things may be really difficult. He is going to do a work exactly when he needs to, exactly how to. He needs to and how he needs to. He doesn't make mistakes, and he is perfect in all he does. Be encouraged by this, no matter what you're going through. So in your life right now, if you're struggling through a situation, know he's on time, and he's going to do a mighty work exactly when and how he sees fit. So thank you for being with us today. Tomorrow we'll be in John chapters 13 through 15. Have a good day, and I will